Tonight, we are not merely telling a story. We are stepping into a world where silence itself is alive, where even books seem to breathe in the hush of night, and where an emperor once claimed he could hear that breathing as clearly as you hear your own heartbeat. You may think this impossible, the invention of a myth, but here, in the heart of the Mughal Empire, impossibility often drapes itself in silk and walks the marble halls. Close your eyes. Let the present dissolve. The clock you know does not exist here. Instead, time bends to the rhythm of a candle's flicker, to the fall of sand in an hourglass, to the measured turning of pages whose ink is still damp with thought. You open your eyes again, and the year is 1590. The world smells of lamp oil and fresh parchment, of sandalwood boxes and stitched leather bindings. You are in Agra, the imperial city, where Akbar reigns and his court hums with languages, arguments, poetry, and the quiet discipline of scholars bent over their work until dawn. You wake to the sound of silence, though it is not empty silence. It is alive. It carries weight. Like air pressed with memory, the chamber around you is vast, lined with shelves that rise higher than any arm can reach. Manuscripts lie upon them like sleeping animals, their pages fluttering faintly in the draught. Of an open lattice, you stretch your hand and touch one. The leather is cool beneath your fingers, rough at the edges where time has nibbled, soft where it has been oiled by careful caretakers. The emperor himself is somewhere within these halls tonight. You have not yet seen him, but his presence is unmistakable. Like the scent of attar lingering in air, he is the one who insists that books breathe. He says they inhale when opened, sigh when closed, and murmur faintly at night when readers fall asleep and leave them unfinished. Others smile politely at this claim, whispering that it is just poetry, but you are not so certain, for as you press your ear to the manuscript in your lap, you hear it, a faint creak, a settling of fibers, a hushed exhalation that could be nothing or everything. The candle beside you flickers, throwing long shadows across the carved ceiling. Patterns of vines and verses ripple like water overhead, and you feel the chamber lean in to listen with you. Every detail here is deliberate. The ink, black as a raven's wing, has been mixed with soot and gum arabic by careful hands. The paper is smooth, made from cotton pulp beaten into submission, stretched, pressed, polished with shells until it shines like silk. Even the stitching of the folios is precise. Red thread binding thought to thought, history to history. The empire has poured labor into every page, and tonight you are aware of it in every breath you take. You rise and walk slowly down the long aisle of bookshelves. Your footsteps echo softly, then are swallowed by the thick silence. You notice the murals on the walls, miniatures painted with such precision that the faces seem to blink in candlelight. Scholars, saints, kings and queens watch you pass. Some smile faintly. Others frown, as if testing your worth. Above them, verses in Persian calligraphy curl like smoke. Phrases from poets whose words still stir lips centuries later. And then you see him. The emperor sits cross-legged on a low carpet, a single manuscript open before him, his face half-lit by the flame of a brass lamp. His eyes are closed. He is not reading. He is listening. His head tilts slightly, as if catching the faintest rhythm. You pause at the edge of the chamber, afraid to intrude, but he opens his eyes and gestures softly for you to come closer. You hear it too, don't you? He whispers. His voice is not commanding here, not imperial, but intimate. These books are alive. They wait for us. They sigh when forgotten. They breathe when remembered. He does not smile when he says this. He does not speak as if it were metaphor. He speaks as if it were fact. You kneel beside him. The manuscript before him is open to a page of luminous blue and gold. Its borders shimmer with floral patterns. Its script flows like a river. You lean closer, and for a moment, just a moment, you think you hear it. A faint inhalation, a whisper of fibers shifting. The Emperor's eyes meet yours, and you know he has heard it too. This is the world you inhabit now. A palace where knowledge is not silent, where even written words have breath and pulse. The night stretches long, and the Empire waits to reveal itself, its struggles, its rituals, its myths, its truths. But it begins here, in the hush of the library, in the company of an emperor who believes that every book is alive, and that by listening closely enough, you can hear history itself breathing. You exhale, the candle sputters. Somewhere, a page turns. The night is beginning. Before your eyes have fully opened, something unsettles you. It is not the brightness of dawn, nor the weight of sleep. It is a sound, or perhaps the absence of sound, that pulls you awake. The chamber around you is dim. Its air heavy with the scent of oil lamps burned down to stubs, the tang of parchment, and the faint sweetness of sandalwood. You expected silence instead. You hear something else, the faintest rise and fall, like a breath taken in the dark. You lie still, ears straining. At first, you think it must be the flutter of fabric, the shift of a servant in the corridor, the sigh of wind through a carved yori window. But no, the sound is too close. You turn your head, and your gaze falls upon the manuscripts piled beside your sleeping mat. Their covers are closed, their clasps fastened, and yet from them comes the rhythm, an inhalation, an exhalation, slow, steady, alive. Your skin prickles. You press your palm flat against the nearest manuscript, feeling the rough grain of leather, the slight give of stitching. Beneath your touch, it warms, faintly pulsing as if something within responds to your presence. You pull back, heart thudding. Surely this cannot be. Books, oryx. Dead and silent, shaped by human hands. And yet, in this chamber, within the Mule Palace where artisans have poured years into crafting knowledge, nothing is merely what it seems. You sit up slowly, breath shallow, and the world sharpens round you. The first rays of light edge into the chamber, slipping between lattice shadows that pattern the marble floor. Dust motes drift in the glow, rising and falling as if caught in some invisible tide. You notice details you missed last night. The subtle warping of a manuscript spine, the faint hiss of parchment settling, the almost imperceptible sigh of fibers adjusting to the weight of air. These sounds, magnified in the hush, seem too deliberate, too rhythmic to dismiss. The Emperor's words echo in your mind. They breathe when remembered. You thought it was metaphor. Now you are not so sure. You lean closer to the stack of books. The breathing deepens, louder now, or perhaps your awareness has simply adjusted. Attuned to the strange music of the library, each manuscript seems to have its own rhythm, some slow and deliberate, others quick and shallow, as if they carry different lives within them. The effect is overwhelming. You press your hands to your ears. But the sound persists, reverberating through the stone, through the air, through your very chest. Your throat tightens. What if others cannot hear it? What if this perception marks you as different, chosen, or cursed? The thought unsettles you more than the sound itself. You rise to your feet, your body tense, and glance round the chamber. For the first time, you notice how watchful it feels. The painted faces on the walls seem sharper in the shifting light. The carved verses seem to curve inward, bending toward you. The chamber is not merely a room. It is a presence, aware, patient, observant. You whisper your own name under your breath, grounding yourself. But the sound is then swallowed instantly by the library. You try again. Louder this time, and the syllables falter. The breathing grows, stronger in response, as though the manuscripts themselves exhale at your intrusion. You stagger back, spine pressing against a cold marble pillar. Then suddenly the breathing stops. The silence crashes down, heavy, absolute. The shock of its absence rattles through your body. The stillness feels sharper, louder than any sound could. You realize you are trembling. The door creaks faintly, and a servant enters, carrying a brass tray with a small lamp and a cup of warm milk infused with saffron. His eyes do not flick to the books. His face is calm, untroubled. He sets the tray on a low table, bows silently, and leaves without a word. You watch him go, heart pounding. Did he not hear it? Did he not notice? To him, the library is only a library. To you, it is alive. You approach the manuscripts again. Wary, you open one slowly. The clasp clicking as it yields, the pages thin and delicate rustle faintly as if inhaling. The smell of ink rises, metallic and sweet, mixed with the faint tang of age. The script curls elegantly across the page, words from a poet long gone. You trace the lines with your eyes, and in that instant, the breath returns not from the book this time, but from within you. Your breathing aligns with it, rhythm joining rhythm, until you cannot tell which is yours and which belongs to the manuscript. You close the book quickly, heart racing, and the sound stops once more. The chamber is quiet, as if nothing happened. You sit heavily on the low carpet, hands shaking. You try to make sense of what you felt, what you heard. Was it imagination, the residue of a dream? Or has the Emperor's truth revealed itself to you, as it once did to him? This is your first sensory shock, the realization that the boundary between the living and the written is thinner than you believed. Books are not passive objects here. They are repositories of voices, breath, memory. They wait for the careful ear, the attentive heart, and once you have heard them, you cannot unhear them. The day has not yet begun, and already your world has changed. The morning unfolds with deceptive calm. Outside the chamber, the palace begins. Its slow awakening, servants sweeping courtyards with palm brooms, water-bearers filling brass jars, guards changing shifts at the gates. The sound of conch shells from distant temples mingles with the muezzin's call, and for a moment, the world seems orderly, ordinary, balanced, but within you, nothing is ordinary anymore. The memory of last night's breathing manuscripts gnaws at you, and each sound in the palace feels sharpened, threatening. Like a blade brushing past your ear, you try to ground yourself in routine. You drink the saffron milk left by the servant, its warmth sliding down your throat, thick and sweet. The taste reminds you of comfort, of childhood, of nights when stories lulled you to sleep instead of pulling you into a waking dream. But even here, the aftertaste is strange, metallic, as if laced with ink. You set the cup aside quickly. The thought of swallowing anything tied to books unsettles you. The Emperor's whisper circles in your mind. They breathe when remembered. The words are no longer distant poetry. They are a law you cannot escape. You rise and walk through the library, careful, alert, as if each book might suddenly leap from its shelf. You notice things you missed before, spines that seem to bulge, slightly, like ribs lifting in a chest, pages that curl and uncurl as if restless. Clasps that click faintly without being touched. The struggle is no longer whether you heard the breathing. You accept that you did. The struggle now is how to live with it. How do you move through a world where objects are not silent, where knowledge itself exhales in the dark? Do you confide in others? Do you remain silent, guarding this secret? You picture yourself speaking of it to a scholar in the Emperor's court. You imagine his laughter, the polite dismissal. You are overtired. You dream too much. Perhaps the incense made you dizzy. Worse, you imagine suspicion flickering in his eyes. In an empire where whispers become daggers, What would it mean if someone claimed you heard things others could not? Could they accuse you of sorcery, madness, blasphemy? Your chest tightens with dread. So you say nothing. Silence becomes your shield, but silence is heavy, and carrying it is a struggle. As the day passes, you try to distract yourself with the palace's routines. You walk the corridors, lined with frescoes and patterned tiles. You pause in the courtyard where peacocks strut across sunlit marble, their feathers shimmering like jeweled fans. You watch the fountains throw arcs of water that sparkle and vanish. The beauty should calm you, but instead, you notice every sound sharply, the rustle of feathers like a page turning, the rush of water like a sigh, the click of a servant's sandals like a clasp opening. Everything reminds you of the books. You cannot escape them, even here. By afternoon, exhaustion grips you. Your mind feels stretched thin, as if pulled between waking and dream. You retreat to your chamber, but rest does not come easily. Each time your eyes close, you imagine the manuscripts shifting, their covers swelling, their pages fluttering without hands to touch them. You hear the faint rhythm of their breath. It grows louder the more you try to ignore it, until you sit up gasping, drenched in sweat. This is survival now, learning to coexist with the sound, learning not to be consumed by it. The emperor appears again that evening. His rival is quiet. Unannounced, you find him standing in the library's far corner, gazing at a manuscript displayed on a carved wooden stand. His face is calm, serene, but his eyes sharp. Luminous tell you he has walked this path of struggle himself. You heard it. Didn't you? He asks softly, without turning. You hesitate, fear catching in your throat. If you admit it, you cross a threshold you cannot retreat from. If you deny it, you remain alone in your burden. At last, you nod. The emperor smiles faintly. It unsettles you now. It always does. In the beginning, you think yourself broken or cursed. You think you cannot live with it, but you will. The sound is not a punishment. It is a gift, a dangerous one, perhaps, but survival lies in learning to carry it. You step closer, your voice unsteady. How? How do you live with it? He lifts his hand, resting it lightly on the open manuscript. His fingers are steady, reverent, by listening, not resisting, by remembering that every breath you hear is not the book's alone. It is the breath of the one who wrote it, the one who copied it, the one who carried it across deserts and rivers to bring it here. To hear books breathing is to hear history itself. Survival is not in fleeing the sound. Survival is in learning to walk with ghosts and call them companions. His words are both comforting and terrifying. To walk with ghosts is no simple task, yet you sense their truth. Perhaps the struggle is not meant to end. Perhaps it is meant to transform you. The emperor turns to you fully now, his gaze piercing, his voice a low murmur. Do not speak of this to others. Most will never hear it. Some cannot bear even the thought. They will fear you, or envy you, or worse. This path is for the few. You must decide whether to continue. You realize, with a chill, that silence is not just a choice, it is survival itself. To carry this truth openly is to risk the empire's suspicion. To carry it secretly is to risk yourself. Either way, you are marked. That night, you return to your chamber and lie awake beside the pile of manuscripts. You no longer try to block the breathing. You let it wash over you, filling the room with its strange rhythm. Slowly, your pulse begins to align with it. Slowly, the terror eases into an easy acceptance. You do not sleep easily. But you do not collapse under the weight either. You endure, and in enduring, you survive. This is the struggle of your new life, not against enemies you can see, but against truths too heavy for silence, too strange for speech. The struggle is not yet over. It has only begun. The next dawn comes softer than the last. Though sleep has barely touched your eyes, you rise with a heaviness in your chest, yet also with a strange steadiness, as if some small part of you has begun to accept the rhythm of those hidden breaths outside. The sky is tinted with rose and gold, and the call of a cold drifts into your chamber. The day feels fragile, like a painting brushed in watercolor, ready to dissolve with the slightest touch. A servant leads you to the gardens where the emperor has summoned you. You follow through winding corridors, past latticed screens and painted arches. The air grows fragrant with roses, jasmine, and comber blossoms. At the garden's center lies a marble pavilion surrounded by shallow pools. Water trickles softly from carved fountains, and the reflections of cypresses stretch long and wavering across the surface. The emperor stands waiting beside a low platform where books rest. Covered with silk cloths, a brazier smolders nearby, releasing spirals of incense that sting your eyes but calm your breath. You realize at once, this is no ordinary gathering. This is ritual. This is belief shaped into ceremony. He gestures for you to sit opposite him on a woven carpet. You lower yourself, every motion deliberate, respectful. The servants withdraw, leaving only silence, water, and the faint crackle of incense. The emperor begins without preamble. His voice is low, steady, like a stream flowing over stone. To hear books breathing is to stand at the edge of two worlds, the world of flesh and the world of memory. Few are called to it. Fewer still endure it. Today you will learn the first way to survive, through ritual. He uncovers one of the manuscripts, revealing an illuminated crown. The calligraphy glimmers, its gold ink catching the morning light. You feel a hush settle over the garden, as though even the trees lean closer to listen. The emperor places his hand over the page, not to touch but to hover just above the ink. Every word, he whispers, was written by a hand that no longer exists. Yet through this page, through the ink and the paper, that hand breathes again. The soul travels through the letter to own it. You must not only read, but listen. You follow his gesture, placing your hand as he does, hovering above the page. At first you hear nothing but the rustle of leaves and the plash of water. But as your breath steadies, something shifts. A faint exhale rises from the manuscript, fragile but distinct, like the sigh of someone dreaming. Your pulse quickens. The sound is not imagination. It is real. The emperor watches you, his eyes knowing. Do not fear it. He says, bow to it. You obey. You lower your head until your forehead nearly touches the edge of the page. The scent of ink and parchment rises to meet you, sharp, earthy, faintly sweet. You breathe it in as if inhaling the memory of another time. The emperor begins to recite verses in a slow, measured cadence. The sound of his voice merges with the sound of the manuscript's breathing, and soon you can no longer tell where one ends and the other begins. The rhythm surrounds you, fills you, carries you. For the first time, the sound does not feel like a burden. It feels like prayer. Hours pass in this way. You listen, you breathe, you bow. Each manuscript brought forth carries a different cadence. Some breathe shallow, quick, like anxious hearts. Others exhale long and deep, like monks lost in meditation. With each one, you learn to align your breath with theirs until your body feels less like a cage of bones and more like an instrument tuned to memory. The emperor explains quietly, as though teaching a child a sacred secret. This is how we preserve what cannot be preserved. Stone crumbles, empires fall. But as long as someone listens, the past does not die. Ritual is the rope that binds us to what was. By late afternoon, You are trembling with exhaustion. Yet your chest feels strangely light, the struggle of silence. The weight of secrecy does not vanish, but it lessens. You understand now that you are not cursed. You are entrusted. At sunset, the ritual ends. The emperor covers the manuscripts again, the silk cloths falling gently as if tucking them into sleep. The air cools, shadows lengthen, and the garden fills with the sound of evening birds returning to their nests. He turns to you and speaks one final phrase. Repeat this to yourself, every day, every night, until it becomes the marrow of your bones. You are not just a reader. You are the offering. The words sink into you with the weight of command, yet also with the warmth of shelter. They echo with a power that feels both terrifying and consoling. You realize this phrase is not just instruction, it is anchor, shield, mantra. It will return to you in the darkest moments, guiding you back when fear threatens to unmake you. That night, alone in your chamber, you whisper it softly into the darkness. I am not just a reader. I am the offering. The manuscripts breathe around you, their rhythm steady, patient. For the first time, you do not flinch. For the first time, you close your eyes and let the sound carry you into sleep. And in your dream, you walk through endless corridors of books, their breaths rising and falling like an ocean tide. And you are no longer drowning. You are afloat. The following morning, you awaken to a different silence. It is not the hush of sleeping books, nor the calm of ritual. It is the heavy silence of hierarchy pressing down on every stone, every servant. Every breath of this palace. You feel it even before you open your eyes, the way footsteps outside your chamber halt too abruptly, the way voices drop into whispers when you pass. You are no longer simply a guest. You are being watched. The emperor's ritual has marked you. The servants know something has shifted, though they cannot name it. Scholars glance at you with curiosity sharpened into suspicion. Guards bow, but their eyes linger too long. The air itself has changed. As you step into the corridors, you see the empire's hierarchy unfold before you like a painted scroll. The nobles glide past in embroidered robes heavy with pearls, their attendants carrying fly whisks and trays of perfumed water. Soldiers march in rigid lines, their spears catching the morning sun. Even the gardeners, bent over tulip beds, move in rhythms of obedience, their labor silently governed by rules older than their fathers. Everywhere, law and power dictate the smallest gestures. A servant kneels when a noble passes, a clerk lowers his voice when a scribe of higher rank enters. Even the peacocks in the courtyard seem to spread their feathers only when the emperor approaches, as though beauty itself has learned to bow. You walk through this order, feeling its weight pressing closer with each step. Yesterday you were only a listener. Today, you are a vessel carrying knowledge forbidden to most, and in this empire, possession of such knowledge is not neutral. It is power, and power always demands obedience. The emperor summons you again, not to the garden this time, but to the D1 the hall of private audience. You enter beneath arches inlaid with precious stones, the walls shimmering with Petra flowers. The marble floor gleams like a mirror, reflecting the gilded throne upon which the emperor sits. Round him gather courtiers, nobles, poets, and jurists, each in their place, each bound by rank. The emperor acknowledges you with the faintest nod, but he does not call you forward. Instead, he begins to speak to the assembly. His voice is measured, deliberate, carrying across the chamber with quiet authority. In this empire, he says, law is not written only on paper. It is written in breath, in silence, in obedience. A book can outlive its scribe, but only if the living protect it. And who protects the living? The law. A murmur runs through the audience. Some nod in agreement, Others shift uneasily. You sense that his words are not abstract, they are aimed, sharp, deliberate. The emperor continues, "What is knowledge without obedience? Dangerous. What is obedience without knowledge? Empty." Between these, we walk the line, your heart pounds as you realize the lesson is not just for them, it is for you. To hear books breathe is to hold dangerous knowledge. To survive, you must also master obedience. The court poets rise to recite verses, their words polished, careful, wrapped in metaphor to flatter power. A noble petitions for land. A jurist recites a ruling. Each act is performance, laid with ritual, designed to uphold the fragile architecture of hierarchy. You sit silently, absorbing the lesson. In this empire, speech is not free. Even truth must bow. Later, in the quiet of the library, you find yourself replaying the empress. Words, the breathing of the books surrounds you, steady, insistent. For a moment, you imagine speaking openly to the courtiers. Do you not hear it? Do you not feel the manuscripts inhale and exhale beneath your hands? But then you recall the silence of the Diwan-i-Khos, the way law threads through every gesture. And you know the truth: if you spoke, you would be crushed. The empire has no law to protect you. Only power decides who may carry such secrets. You begin to understand survival in a new way. It is not just entrance of silence, not just ritual. It is learning when to bow and when to stand. It is memorizing the invisible laws that govern not only men, but memory itself. One evening, a scholar approaches you in the library. His beard is silver, his robe simple, but his eyes gleam with curiosity. He leans closer than is proper and whispers, "They say the emperor favors you. They say you hear what others cannot. Tell me, what do the books say?" The question freezes you. It is both invitation and trap. If you answer truthfully, you risk exposure. If you lie, you betray the emperor's trust. In that moment, you feel the full weight of hierarchy pressing upon you, not just between noble and servant, but between silence and speech. You lower your gaze and answer with careful words. The books say only what they have always said. We are the ones who forget. The scholar studies you, his eyes narrowing. Then he nods slowly, as if satisfied, and withdraws. You exhale, realizing you have survived another test. From that day, you begin to carry yourself differently. You move with the careful balance of one who knows the walls have ears. You bow when required. You speak only when safe. You guard your secret as fiercely as a soldier guards his blade. You learn that in this empire, survival is not about truth. It is about obedience shaped with wisdom. Yet deep inside, a question lingers unspoken. If obedience preserves you, does it also diminish you? If silence protects you, does it also betray the books whose breath you carry? This question haunts you as you kneel before the manuscripts each night. You repeat the emperor's mantra. You are not just a reader, you are the offering. Yet now, another voice rises within you, whispering, an offering to whom? To the emperor, to the empire, or to the books themselves? In the quiet rhythm of the book's breathing, you hear no answer, only the endless reminder that in this empire, law protects no one, only power does, and power, like breath, can vanish in an instant. The weight comes slowly, like dusk creeping across the sky. At first, you don't notice it, a heaviness in your shoulders, a tightening in your chest, little things you dismiss as fatigue. But the days stretch long inside the palace, and silence thickens round you like a wall. No one speaks of what you have seen, what you have heard, and you cannot speak of it either. At night, when the books breathe, you lie awake and count the rhythm, telling yourself it is steady, predictable, harmless. But soon the sound begins to press on your thoughts. It no longer feels like exhalation, it feels like whispers, like voices too faint to understand, calling to you in a language that dissolves before it reaches meaning. The longer you listen, the more your chest tightens. Until you rise from your bed gasping, you try to drown it in. Routine. You walk the gardens, tracing the pots of tulips planted in perfect lines. You sit by the fountains, staring at the way water beads on the marble before slipping away. But even here, in the open air, the silence feels alive. The cypresses lean too close. The carved calligraphy on the pavilion arches seems to shift at the edge of your vision, as though the stone itself is breathing. The emperor does not summon you for several days. And in that absence, doubt grows. Perhaps he has turned away. Perhaps he regrets entrusting you with this burden. You replay his words endlessly. You are not just a reader. You are the offering. They should comfort you. But instead they unravel in your mind. An offering is consumed, given up, erased. Was this a blessing or a sentence? One evening, unable to bear the silence, you wander through the library alone. The oil lamps flicker, throwing shadows across the shelves. The manuscripts rest in neat rows. But to you they no longer seem inanimate. You see their spines expand and contract. You hear the rise and fall of their unseen breath. The sound grows louder the deeper you walk, until it feels as though the walls themselves inhale and exhale. You press your palms to your ears. The sound does not stop. It lives inside you now, stitched into your pulse. You sink to the floor between two shelves, your forehead against the cool marble, and whisper to yourself, I am not meant for this. The gods made a mistake. Tears come, sudden and unbidden. You are not crying for the books, nor for the empire. You are crying for yourself, for the life you no longer recognize, for the silence that isolates you, for the burden you cannot share. The manuscripts breathe steadily round you. Indifferent to your collapse, their rhythm does not falter. Only yours does. Days blur, food loses its taste, sleep becomes shallow and restless. Servants bring trays and withdraw quickly, their eyes averted, sensing something fragile in your silence. You begin to avoid mirrors, unable to face the hollowness in your own gaze. When the emperor finally summons you again, you enter his chamber trembling. He studies you carefully, his face calm but his eyes sharp, as though he has already seen the unraveling within you. You hear them still. He says softly, it is not a question. You nod, unable to find words, and it crushes you. Your voice breaks. Yes, I cannot breathe with them. I cannot live with them. It is too much. The emperor rises and walks to the window, looking out over the moonlit garden. His silhouette is calm, steady, almost cruel in its serenity. Do you think you are the first to falter? Every listener breaks. Every one. The silence demands it. The breath demands it. He turns back to you, his eyes glinting in the dim light. But breaking is not the end. Breaking is the beginning. You shake your head, tears stinging your eyes. I am not strong enough. The emperor steps closer, lowering his voice. Strength is not silence. Strength is learning how to breathe with them, even when it feels like drowning. Do you not see? That is why you were chosen. Not because you are unbreakable, but because you will break, and then you will learn to carry the pieces. His words should soothe you, but they cut deeper. To live broken, to carry pieces of yourself forever, that is not survival. It is surrender. Yet as he watches you, his gaze unwavering, you sense no cruelty in him, only recognition, only truth. That night, back in your chamber, you sit among the manuscripts. Their breath surrounds you. Steady, patient, indifferent, you whisper to them through your tears, I cannot be your offering. I cannot. But the sound does not stop. It fills the room, fills your chest, until you are forced to inhale with it, exhale with it, surrender to it, and slowly, through the storm of your grief, your breath falls into rhythm with theirs. You are no longer resisting. You are no longer separate. You are breaking. Yes, but in breaking, something inside you is learning to bend, to yield, to listen without fighting. The night passes like a fever. When dawn comes, you are hollow, emptied, but the silence no longer terrifies you. It still presses on you, still isolates you, but you find that you can stand within it. You can endure it, at least for now, and in that fragile endurance, a truth reveals itself. The breakdown was not a failure. It was a passage you cannot go back to who you were before. But perhaps, just perhaps, you can learn to live with who you are now. The days after your collapse move strangely, as though time itself has been slowed and thickened. Each hour feels weighted, heavy, pressing you against yourself. You wander through the palace with the faint awareness that you are no longer untouched, no longer whole. Something inside you has cracked open, and though the emperor's words ring in your ears, breaking is the beginning, you cannot decide whether that beginning is meant for life or ruin. The conflict is not with the emperor, nor with the library, nor even with the breathing manuscripts. It is with yourself. Every step, every thought, every breath now feels like a decision. Do you yield to the silence, or do you resist it? Do you let it shape you, or do you attempt to flee it? Both paths feel dangerous. Both feel impossible. In the mornings, you try to live as you once did. You drink tea in the courtyard, the steam rising in soft curls. You listen to the gardeners whisper to the tulips as they water them, their lips moving in prayers you cannot hear. You watch the pigeons descend on the rooftops, scattering light across their wings. For brief moments, the world seems whole again. But then the silence returns, not just the absence of sound, but the living silence that pulses, presses, demands. It is no longer confined to the library. It follows you into the gardens, into the kitchens, into your very breath. At night, the conflict sharpens, the manuscripts call. You feel their pull, like tides drawing you toward a shore you cannot see. Yet you resist, fearing what might happen if you fully surrender. One night you barricade the door of your chamber, stacking cushions and stools against it, as though paper and ink could be kept at bay. But when sleep finally comes, you dream of parchment unraveling round you, wrapping your body in pages until you suffocate. You wake choking, only to realize your room is empty, silent. The books do not need to enter. They already live inside you. The emperor summons you once more, this time. His chamber is darker than before. The curtains are drawn, and only a single lamp flickers on a low table. He studies you for a long while, his expression unreadable. Then he gestures toward the floor. Kneel. You obey. Though your body trembles, you have entered the silence, he says quietly. And you have broken within it. That is as it should be. But now comes the trial. The silence is no gift if it consumes you. You must learn to shape it, or it will shape you into dust. You whisper, your voice fragile. How can I shape something I cannot even bear? The emperor leans forward. You have already begun. Do you not see? Every moment you resist, every tear you shed, every gasp for a breath is part of the shaping. But the time has come to choose. You cannot live halfway, hovering between surrender and denial. Either you step fully into it, or you step away and abandon what has been given. The word abandon pierces you. You imagine leaving the manuscripts behind, returning to a life of shallow sleep and harmless duties, a life without the crushing silence. Yes, but also without its strange, intoxicating depth. And yet, to step fully into it, to surrender. That feels like death, like vanishing into something that will never give you back. The Emperor places something before you, a manuscript. Its cover darkened by age, its edges worn thin. This one breathes louder than the rest. You must face it, if you cannot. Then you are not meant to stay. You hesitate, the room feels smaller, the air heavy. You stare at the book as though it were alive and in truth. It is, the faintest rise and fall of its cover is visible. You can almost feel its pulse across the floor. Your chest tightens. Part of you wants to run, to flee the palace, to disappear into the world beyond the gates. Another part whispers that this is the moment everything has led to, the crossroads, the choice. Your hands tremble as you reach for the manuscript. The instant your fingertips brush its surface, a shock runs through you, not pain, but recognition, as though something buried deep within you has been called by name. The book exhales, and your own lungs follow. The breath is not your own. The breath is shared. You yank your hand back, gasping. Tears sting your eyes. The Emperor's voice cuts through the tremor. You are not a prisoner of the silence. You are its companion. Choose. The conflict tears at you. To embrace the silence means to lose the person you once were. To reject it means to turn from a path no one else has been allowed to walk. You are both terrified and tempted, both lost and called. The Emperor waits, his gaze unwavering. The manuscript breathes before you, patient, steady, and yielding, and you, kneeling on the cold floor, feel the weight of the trial pressing down. Your hands hover once more above the book. You are no longer asking yourself if you can choose. You are asking yourself if you dare. The moment lingers. Your hands hover over the manuscript, trembling like leaves in a storm. The silence in the Emperor's chamber grows unbearable. Yet within that silence lies something vast, immeasurable, waiting. When at last your fingers press against the worn leather, the world shifts. It is not a loud shift, not thunder, not lightning, but something subtler, deeper. A door inside your chest opens. Though you did not know it was locked, the manuscript exhales. And this time, you do not recoil. The breath enters you, threads through your ribs, coils round your spine. For a heartbeat you are certain you are dissolving, that you will scatter like ash into the air. But you remain, and you hear. It is not sound exactly. It is not words. It is something between them, a rhythm that exists before language. Yet the longer you listen, the more the rhythm shapes itself into sense fragments. Echoes, have-thoughts, the memory of voices, not your own, not the Emperor's, not anyone alive. You hear scholars whispering in candlelight. You hear poets pausing before ink touches paper. You hear the faint scratch of quills, the inhale before a story begins. The book is not just breathing. It is remembering, and through its breath, those memories seep into you. Your vision blurs, the chamber fades. For a moment you are elsewhere, standing in a scriptorium centuries ago, where apprentices grind lapis into blue pigment, their hands stained by color. You blink again and you are in a caravan crossing deserts. Manuscripts bound in cloth strapped to camels, the wind tearing at the travelers' faces. Another blink and you are in a tiny hut, where a man copies verses by lamplight, his breath steady, his ink nearly gone. Each vision comes with a breath, and each breath with a weight. The lives of those who touched the book linger inside it, their silence layered like stone. And you, trembling on the floor of the Emperor's chamber, are now the vessel of that inheritance. When your sight clears, you are still there on the marble floor, the manuscript warm beneath your palm. Your body shakes, sweat soaking your back. But you do not pull away. You dare not. The Emperor watches you quietly. His eyes glimmer in the dim light. Not with triumph, but with something heavier, recognition, perhaps even sorrow. You see now. He says softly, "The books do not simply breathe. They carry. They remember. They are not mute. They are the archive of what silence cannot erase. Your lips part, but no words come. What could you say? That you have felt centuries inhale through you. That the world has pressed itself into your lungs. The emperor rises, pacing slowly. Most hear only breath. Few ever hear the memory behind it. That you do. He pauses, searching for words. It means the silence has accepted you. It no longer asks for your surrender. It offers its truth. The revelation shakes you more than the collapse did. Until now, you thought the silence was an emptiness, a void pressing down. Now you see it is the opposite. The silence is not absence. It is presence, so deep and vast it overwhelms sound itself. It holds voices that can no longer speak, lives that can no longer move. And you fragile, trembling, uncertain have become their listener. That night, when you return to your chamber, you sit with the manuscript on your lap. The air hums round you, alive with quiet pulses. You do not resist. You breathe with it. And as you do, visions come more gently, less violently than before. You see a child tracing letters into the dust with a stick, reciting the alphabet in a sing-song voice. You see a woman sewing a manuscript's cover, her fingers pricked with blood where the needle slipped. You see men arguing fiercely over a translation, their hands slamming the table. Yet beneath their fury lies devotion, a desperate need to preserve meaning. They are not grand figures, not kings or conquerors. They are ordinary souls, all bound together by ink and silence, and somehow their fragments live inside the breath of the book. Inside you, tears slip down your cheeks. But they are not tears of despair this time. They are tears of recognition, of awe, of grief so vast it feels holy. And in that moment, you understand. The emperor did not give you a burden. He gave you a threshold, a key to what lies beneath history's noise. The silence is not meant to crush you, it is meant to reveal. The revelation does not erase your fear. You still tremble. You still doubt. But now, for the first time, you glimpse why you were chosen. Not because you are strong, not because you are unbreakable, but because you can listen. Because you are willing to hear what others turn away from. You fall asleep that night with the manuscript beside you, its breath steady, your own breath slowly learning to keep pace. The silence no longer feels empty. It feels endless, and you are beginning to realize that endlessness is not your enemy. It is your companion. The days that follow are unlike any you have known. The manuscript never leaves your side. When you walk through the courtyards, it breathes softly in your satchel, its pulse faint but steady, like a hidden heartbeat. At night, when torches gutter low and the palace exhales into sleep, you place it on the marble floor before you and simply listen. And always it breathes. The breaths carry whispers, and the whispers carry weight. At first you marvel at them. A poet's unfinished couplet hums against your skin. The craftsman's lament about broken inkstones weaves through your ears, even the faint sigh of a weary archivist, rubbing tired eyes after copying for hours, becomes a fragment of your inheritance. You feel as if you are finally entering the true empire, not of palaces and battles, but of words, ink, silence, and the countless unseen who preserved them. But the wonder does not come without cost. The first price is sleep. Night after night, you wake to voices not your own, layered so thickly that your dreams unravel. 1,000 conversations hum through you, overlapping, colliding, pressing until your chest aches. You rise at dawn already exhausted, as though you carried a mountain through your rest. The world blurs at the edges. Even the emperor notices the heaviness under your eyes, the stiffness in your walk. You are learning. He tells you one evening, when you kneel before him in the library, and learning always takes more than it gives. His gaze is steady, but beneath it you sense a quiet warning. He knows what toll the silence extracts. The second price is hunger. You eat less, not because food has lost its taste, but because each mouthful feels like an interruption. How can you chew rice when a book sighs beside you? How can you swallow pomegranate seeds when a forgotten philosopher's voice breathes across your shoulder? The world of flesh dims, and the world of ink brightens. You are caught between them. And sure which sustains you more. The third price is distance. Those who once greeted you now step aside. Servants glance nervously when you pass, as though the air around you unsettles them. Some whisper that your chamber is haunted. Others say you speak in tongues at night. You try to tell them. It is not madness but memory. Not curse but gift, but the words fail. For how can you explain to someone who has never heard a book inhale? Loneliness sharpens. You begin to notice how long the corridors feel, how wide the courtyards stretch. Even in the bustling kitchens, even during assemblies, you feel apart, as if you are already elsewhere, half in this world, half in another. And yet, with every cost, the silence deepens inside you. You learn to carry its weight the way a calligrapher learns to carry the brush. You find small rituals, pausing your breath to match the manuscripts, pressing your forehead to its cover when voices grow too loud. Slowly, you begin to weave balance. Not mastery, but survival. Then comes the day you realize the silence no longer waits for the book to open. You are walking through the gardens when it happens. The air is thick with the scent of mosher blossoms, the fountains casting their silver spray. Children laugh in the distance. You pause by a marble bench too. Rest, the manuscript safe in your arms. And then you hear it. Not from the book, from the bench itself. At first you think it is imagination, fatigue twisting your senses. But the sound is unmistakable, a faint, slow inhale. The marble itself is breathing. You place your hand on the cool stone and a vision rushes into you, not of writers or readers, but of the mason who carved it. His sweat, his ache, his pride at the final polish. His silence lives in the bench, and now it flows into you. You stagger back, dizzy. The garden tilts. The world is no longer mute. The silence is everywhere woven into wood, stone, cloth, air. Every surface holds memory. Every object hums with forgotten breath. This is the cost you had not foreseen. Once you learn to hear, you cannot stop. The silence no longer belongs only to books. It belongs to the empire itself. You stumble to your chamber, pressing your palms against your ears. But it makes no difference. The silence is not in the air, it is in you. The walls breathe. The floor breathes. Even your own robes breathe, filled with the sigh of the weaver who once sat hunched over a loom in some distant village. The emperor finds you there, crouched in the dark, trembling. He does not scold. He simply kneels beside you, his presence calm, his hand steady as it rests on your shoulder. "It is too much," you whisper, your voice breaking. "I cannot bear it. The world is too full. There is no end." The emperor's face is shadowed, unreadable. "Yes," he murmurs, "that is the truth of empire. Not the maps, not the battles. But this millions of breaths layered into silence. To hear it is to understand its cost. And once you hear, there is no return. You look into his eyes, searching for escape, but find none, only the weight of his own knowing. You realize then that he, too, has borne this silence for years, and if he still stands, still breathes, perhaps you can as well. The night passes slowly. The silence does not recede. But you begin to move with it, not against it. You place the manuscript on your chest as you lie down, its breath steadying your own. One inhale, one exhale, one fragile rhythm at a time. The cost remains, sleep fractured, hunger dulled, loneliness sharpened. Senses overwhelmed, but within the cost is also clarity. You are beginning to glimpse what lies beneath the Emperor's myth. Not power, not magic, but listening so deep it erases the boundary between life and death, presence and absence, sound and silence, and though it breaks you, part of you knows you would not choose otherwise. The days blur, one folding into another, until time itself feels like parchment that has been written over too many times. The silence no longer waits for you. It greets you each morning like an old companion, already sitting by your bedside, already breathing through the stones and the air. The cost still presses your nights fractured, your body weaker, your solitude deeper, but with each passing day, a strange clarity settles. The silence is not here to torment you. It is here to choose you. One morning, the Emperor summons you. His messengers come before dawn, their voices hushed, their faces unreadable. You rise, heart pounding, and follow them through winding corridors until you arrive at the royal library. But this time, it is not the smaller chamber where you once knelt trembling. It is the great hall, the Kitab corner, the Empire's beating. Heart of memory. The moment you step inside, your breath catches. Scrolls and manuscripts tower in endless rows, shelves stretching toward the vaulted ceiling like a forest of knowledge. Sunlight filters through latticed windows, falling in patterns of gold and shadow across the marble floor. The air hums not with whispers, not with sighs, but with something far greater. Thousands of breaths, thousands of silences led into one vast exhale. You nearly collapse beneath its weight. The Emperor stands at the center, robed not in jewels but in plain white cotton. His face is grave, his posture still. He waits until you steady yourself, until your trembling legs carry you forward. You hear it. He says, not as a question, but as a truth already known. You bow your head, unable to deny it. The library does not simply breathe, it roars, though without sound. It presses into you, filling your chest, your bones, until you feel you may shatter. The Emperor's eyes rest on you. This is the legacy, he says quietly. Not my throne, not my wars. This, the silence of books, the memory of those who are gone, carried in every page, every fiber of parchment, every mark of ink. I am its custodian, and now, so are you. The words strike like a bell. Custodian. You feel the weight of it, heavier than crowns or chains. You try to speak, to protest, but your throat closes. All you can manage is a whisper. Why me? The Emperor walks slowly between the shelves, his hand brushing against manuscripts as if greeting old friends. Because you were willing to listen, he says. Most flee from silence. They drown it with noise, with power, with conquest. But you knelt when it broke you. You breathed with it when it threatened to crush you. That is the measure of a custodian, not strength, but surrender. You follow him, your steps echoing faintly. Everywhere you turn, the silence deepens. You feel centuries pressing into you, the breath of a poet whose work was never finished, the sigh of a scribe who died before dawn, the devotion of a woman who stitched a cover for a book she would never read. They crowd inside you until you're certain you will break. But then, something shifts. For the first time, this silence does not feel like weight pressing down. It feels like wings lifting you. The Emperor stops before a locked cabinet. It's wood, dark with age. He produces a small key, its metal glinting in the dim light, and places it in your palm. Inside, he says softly, is the first manuscript I ever heard breathe. I was no older than you when it chose me. It nearly destroyed me, but it also remade me. You will open it. and you will decide whether you can bear what follows. If you cannot, you will return the key. If you can, then the silence will pass into you and through you. It will endure. Your hand shakes as you approach the cabinet. The silence gathers round you. Thick as smoke, you insert the key. The lock clicks. The doors creak open. Inside lies a single manuscript, bound in faded silk, its edges frayed, its pages yellowed with time. Yet it hums with a presence more alive than flesh. Even before you touch it, you feel its breath, a deep, steady rhythm that fills the hall. You lift it with trembling hands. The moment your skin meets the silk, the silence shatters into a storm. Voices pour into you, not whispers this time, but cries, songs, laments. Laughter. 1,000 lives flood through your chest, your veins, your bones. You see villages burning, rivers glimmering, children reciting verses, lovers weeping over poems. You see an empire's rise, not in battles, but in words written and carried, hidden and preserved. It is unbearable. It is infinite. You fall to your knees, clutching the manuscript, tears streaming down your face. I cannot. You whisper. It is too much. The emperor kneels beside you, his hand steady on your back. Yes, he says. It is too much. It will always be too much. But that is the legacy. To bear what is impossible, so it is not lost. You breathe with the manuscript, slowly, painfully. You match its rhythm. Inhale, exhale, the silence no longer drowns you, it fills you, it remakes you, and in that moment you understand. This is not a burden you carry alone. It is a lineage, passed from custodian to custodian, each one breaking, each one remade. You are now part of that unbroken chain, stretching back into centuries, stretching forward into futures you will never see. The emperor's voice is low, steady, final. Remember this day, for centuries from now, when your name is forgotten, when your body is dust, the silence will still breathe through those you have never met, and they will not know your face. But they will carry what you carry now. This day will echo through time. The words pierce you, burning into your memory. You know then that there is no turning back. The silence has claimed you. The legacy is yours, and though it terrifies you, though it will cost everything, you also feel the faintest flicker of something else. Not triumph, not pride, but belonging. You are no longer outside the empire's story. You are its breath. The day of the turning passes like no other. Its echoes still vibrating in your chest long after the emperor leaves you alone in the kitab corner. The silk-bound manuscript rests heavy in your lap, yet it feels less like an object now and more like a pulse, steady, eternal, older than any crown or throne. You hold it as though it might slip away, though you know now it cannot. It is bound to you. You are bound to a dot when night falls over the palace. You step outside into the cool corridors. The marble under your bare feet breathes softly. You no longer resist it. Every surface, every wall, every carved arch sings its quiet song of memory. And instead of drowning you, it carries you like a current. The zenana is hushed. Lanterns glowing. Behind carved yori screens, women's laughter faint as a lullaby. Beyond the courtyards, fountains murmur. The scent of sandalwood drifts through the air, mingling with smoke from distant lamps. The entire palace exhales, and for the first time, you exhale with it no longer in resistance, but in rhythm. You carry the manuscript to your chamber. Inside, the world is dim, lit only by the pale wash of moonlight slipping through the lattice. The silence waits for you, vast and full. You kneel on the floor, placing the manuscript before you, and close your eyes. At first, there is only breath. The manuscript inhales. You inhale, The manuscript exhales. You exhale. Slowly, you feel your body dissolve into the rhythm, as if you are no longer separate from the silence, but woven into its fabric. And then the visions begin again. But they are softer now. Less violent, more like dreams that rive on the edge of sleep. You see a child falling asleep over a slate, her small hand curled around chalk. You see an old man sitting under a tree, murmuring verses until the words fade into snores. You see women stitching covers by lamplight, their tired laughter carrying through the night. It is not grandeur you see, not empires rising or kings commanding. It is ordinariness, sleep, rest, the small rituals that preserved memory without fanfare. The empire is not only battles and decrees, it is also the gentle rhythm of ordinary breath. Night after night, generation after generation, the silence cradles you in these images. Your tears fall again, but they are not heavy this time. They are light, cleansing, as if the silence itself whips through you. You lie back, the manuscript against your chest. Its breath aligns with your own, so steady that you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. You realize you no longer fear it. The silence is not your enemy, not your burden. It is your companion, your inheritance, your lullaby dot outside. The empire sleeps, courtyards empty, guards doze against their spears, torches burn low. The city beyond the palace walls hums with its own rhythm, merchants snoring over their goods. Children curled under quilts, dogs sighing in alleys. Each breath folds into the great silence, layer upon layer, until even the emperor's vast library seems only one chamber in an infinite archive. The weight of it all presses on you, and yet, tonight, that weight feels like rest. You are not alone in your listening. You are surrounded by a million breaths, each carried into silence, each waiting for anyone to hear as you drift towards sleep. The emperor's words return. This day will echo through time. You wonder if centuries from now, when your name is gone, when your bones are dust, someone else will lie as you do. A manuscript on their chest, the silence whispering through them. You wonder if they will feel this same mingling of sorrow and peace, fear and surrender. The thought comforts you. Legacy is not thunder. It is not glory. It is this, the steady breath that never ends, passed from chest to chest. Custodian too. Custodian. Your eyelids grow heavy. The manuscript hums against your heart. The marble floor sighs beneath you. The empire, in its vastness, settles into slumber. And for the first time in many nights, you let go. You surrender fully, not fighting. The silence, not fearing its enormity. You allow it to carry you into dreams. You are not just a servant of silence. You are a part of it now. You are its breath, its vessel, its story. And as the moon climbs higher, as the stars burn steady over the sleeping mule world, you fall into the gentlest sleep you have ever known, your breath and the book's breath, indistinguishable, woven into the endless fabric of silence that stretches far beyond you. The night deepens, and the empire lies utterly still. Even the fountains in the courtyards seem to hush their streams, as if water itself obeys the silence. The moon hovers high above, casting silver patterns through the yellow screens. You rest. There, the manuscript still pressed to your chest, its invisible lungs breathing in perfect unison with your own. You are no longer awake in the ordinary sense, but not fully gone to sleep either. You drift in a twilight state, hovering between worlds. The boundary between dream and waking has grown thin. In this fragile space, the silence grows vast, larger than the palace, larger than the empire, larger even than time. And then you realize something you had not seen before. All along, you believed the silence was here to be preserved, guarded like treasure in a chest. You thought it was yours to hold. But no silence has been holding you, like a cradle. like a tide that bears your small vessel safely across the ocean of nights. You are not the protector of silence. Silence is the protector of you. You breathe with this understanding. Deepen now, steady. In that breath is the emperor's voice. In that breath are the artisans bending over calligraphy. In that breath are women whispering verses to their children. In that breath is the entire pulse of a civilization. All of it converges here. In this one shared inhale, this one shared exhale. Your mind wanders toward the myth that brought you here, the strange door that opened only when someone forgot a name, suddenly. It no longer feels like a puzzle, no longer a contradiction, forgetting. A name was never about loss, it was about surrender. The door does not demand memory. It demands release. It demands trust in silence itself, and you, without realizing it, have already walked through that door, the moment you laid down your fear. The moment you allowed the manuscript to breathe through you, you crossed into the other side of the myth. You became what the story was waiting for. You are the answer to its riddle. The manuscript shifts against your chest, but you do not move. Its breath is softer now, almost imperceptible, as if it too has grown weary and wishes to rest. You feel the stillness gather in your limbs, the warmth of surrender flooding through you. The empire's silence hums, and for once, you are not a stranger to it. Hours pass. Though you do not mark them, the night ages quietly, stars wheeling overhead, shadows lengthening and then thinning. When the first hint of dawn touches the horizon, the palace stirs again. The guard coughs, a maid's sandals scuff stone. Somewhere, a rooster breaks the spell with its raw cry, yet you remain inside the silence. Even with the world resuming its noise, you carry its pulse within you. You realize you always will. At this moment, standing on the edge of sleep and wake, you begin to wonder, centuries later, will anyone else lie as you do now? Will anyone else press a book to their chest and listen to its breath, hoping to hear the same eternal rhythm? Will some listener, far away in another land, another age, hear these words and feel the hush of the Mughal night round them? Perhaps that listener is you here, now, drifting between your own breaths and mine. Perhaps you have already joined the silence by simply listening. Take a breath with me now. Inhale, slowly, deeply, gently. Hold it for a moment. Then exhale, without hurry, without weight. Do it again. Inhale. Exhale. The silence has reached you, hasn't it? Let it cradle you. Let it weave around your thoughts like a shawl, soft and steady. Let it remind you that you do not need to carry memory, history, or empire alone. The silence carries all of us. It always has. Close your eyes. Let the story settle like dust on a still floor. Let the last ripples fade into calm water. Let the myth do what it was always meant to do, not to confuse you, not to frighten you, but to lull you. You are safe here. You are held. The empire breathes through you, the manuscript breathes through you, and silence itself hums with your sleep. The emperor once said, "This day will echo through time," and now it has. Through your breath, through your listening, through the surrender you are making at this very moment. So let go, drift, surrender, sleep, for the silence has found you, and it will not leave you.